Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may reside on planet Earth. There will be a glare on my glasses, unfortunately. I am simply apologizing in advance. We are gathered here today to talk about and or discuss environmental racism. Why must I speak about such a thing, you ask? Well, it is simply a topic that has been on my mind, to say the least. At the moment, to say the least. That is why. What is environmental racism? According to my notes, environmental racism is the disproportionate impact of environmental hazards on people of color due to racial discrimination and policy making directives and the environment of regulations and laws that intentionally or unintentionally disadvantage individuals, groups, or communities simply based on race. When we think of environmental racism, we think of, or at least collectively, when we think about environmental racism, we simply just think about the racism part and we do not include the environment part or the environmental part. Environment is simply your environment, what you're around, where you sleep, where you're nurtured, where you are, things to that degree. What are examples of environmental racism? What I can think of at the top of my head is when an African American or Black person, however you choose to identify, or person of color. When a Black person, African American, or person of color decides to move to the good part of town or the good neighborhoods, what I can think of is, I'm about to live in the good neighborhoods. Why are those statements made? Those statements are made because of the many disadvantages in which they lived in when it came to their side of town or where they lived. Things like that, or the Flint water crisis. You can tell, right? You can tell what area you are in when it comes to the surroundingment, if that is a word, the surrounding of where you are. So if it looks more run down, okay, it's a Black neighborhood, or it's a Dominican neighborhood, or it's a whatever, Indian neighborhood, what have you. But if it looks more upscale and everything looks more put together and everything looks like it actually flows well together, oh, that's the good side of town. This is where all the people who have their stuff together, this is where they live, this is where they reside. And it also comes to mind, personally, what comes to mind is a goal in the African American, Black, or people of color community. What comes to my mind is this goal, right? There's this goal to live in good neighborhoods, as I mentioned prior. And it's like, why is that such a goal in the first place, right? There has to be an issue at hand, first of all, if the goal is to live elsewhere that we perceive to be the good areas. Another example when it comes to environmental racism is simply due to the lack of government diversity when it comes to certain areas that can actually perpetuate environmental racism. Ridiculous. But at the same time, I feel like we know these things already. So why are we here? Why are we here? Why is this still a thing? Why is environmental racism still a thing? Let's talk. Let's talk about it. Environmental racism does not just affect poor families, right? It doesn't. Okay, so if you are a middle class African American Black family, people of color, if you are in that situation, you're still going to be affected as well because of your race. You're still going to be affected. Environmental racism. Let's talk about it. Environmental racism can also be expensive for Black, African American, and or people of color. For example, when it comes to rent prices, things to that degree. Geez Louise. Like, okay, so when it comes to environmental racism, right? When it comes to environmental racism, it's like, oh my goodness, I can talk about so many different things like redlining, denying African American, Black, or people of color, denying mortgages or something. It's like, oh my gosh, I can go on and on about this forever. Oh my gosh. Okay, so it can be expensive for African Americans or Black minorities, right? When it comes to African Americans, Black people, or minorities, what have you, it's this thing where it's like we have to pay double or collectively we have to pay double just to get a fraction of what the good environment tastes like, or when it comes to rent, when it comes to utilities. I can go on and on about this, okay? I can expand on this so much more, but I just wanted to kind of get this out of here. I can expand on this so much. I really can expand on this topic so much. I simply just would like to get this thought out of my mind and just talk about it just a little bit. I may expand on it later, but that's just where I am. What ways can we actually fight environmental racism? How about more inclusivity when it comes to places of power, such as social issues and environmental issues? And I can go on and on. How about more inclusivity? That's one. Okay. Then how about two? Education. Awareness. Education and awareness. Okay? Goodness gracious. I just wanted to get this out. So, I may be presenting a lack of information, which is what it is right now. I just have a thought in my head and I just kind of want to get it out there. So, until next time.